You must have heard of this. Let them drink their own blood and eat their own flesh. The acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ibrahim Magu, has been arrested by the Department of State Services. He was arrested over allegations that he owns 4 properties and also allegedly transferring funds abroad through a third party, simply involved in money laundering. Now, one would have wondered how Efcc chairman is involved in this. Of course, they are all birds of the same feather. The military is involved in it. The legislators are involved in this. Also, the judiciary, they are involved in this. The executive is involved in this. But once in a while, when you cross your path, do not forget that they know what you are involved in. There is no secret among them. They know what you are involved in. If you cross your path, you will be called out. And that's what has happened now. Recently, Ibrahim Magu, the acting chairman of Efcc, of course, he has a huge pot of soup in front of him. And whenever they arrest anybody involved in cyber fraud or any other person, there are some kind of kickbacks and some bribe that they also get and they hide. Of course, if you could remember that there are some money that he claimed were in some houses in Ikoyi and all over Nigeria. Do you think EFCC, before taking videos and pictures and all of those things, do you think they wouldn't have taken at least a certain portion for themselves? Do you think they are that transparent? They are that godly? No. Anyway, EFCC acting chairman had some issues with the Attorney General of the Federation and also the Minister of Justice, Malami. Malami is up in the hierarchy of the, vampires or vultures in this regime, in this government. And probably the acting chairman might think, well, I have much more. But he doesn't know that the connections that brought in Malami is not the same as his own. So they had issues as regards the money that are being repatriated. I'm talking about the one from the United States, Abacha paying Nigeria and all of that. So they had some issues here and there. Anyway, he was arrested at the Wuse 2 office of the DSS on Monday afternoon and is now undergoing interrogation at the DSS headquarters in Aso Drive. The DSS in a 2016 report revealed that he has about 40 million naira mansion paid for by one Umar Mohammed, a retired air commodore who is allegedly involved in shady deals. In December 2010, the Police Service Commission (PSC) found Magu guilty of action against the state, security, withholding of EFCC files, sabotage, unauthorized removal of EFCC files, and acts on becoming of a police officer, and awarded him severe reprimand as punishment. Even though, the title is acting chairman, as the Senate then refused because of issues that surrounds Magu. Magu is currently occupying a residence rented for 40 million at 20 million naira per annum. How is this possible? How is Magu able to come up with 20 million naira per annum? This accommodation was not paid for from the commission finances, but one Umar Mohammed, air commodore, retired, like I said, a questionable, a shady character, is the one that pays for it. So Magu thought that he could go round the circle, but the point, the thing about these people is that they are so stupid. He felt that it's covered. There was one time he was sitting with Buhari and he said coronavirus is corruption. And Buhari smiled and clapped. They are both mediocres. For him, he felt like, wow, I've been given this position. Let me do what I need to do. For the furnishing of the resident, Magu enlisted the Federal Capital Development Authority to award a contract to Africa Energy, a company owned by the same Mohammed, to furnish the resident at a cost of 43 million. Do you see the same Yahoo government, Yahoo EFCC, everything is fraud. Investigations showed that the acting EFCC chairman regularly embarked on official and private trips through a private jet owned by Mohammed. So Mohammed is the front, same as the richest man in Africa, Dangote. Dangote got his money from monopoly. Yes, they talked about some of his uncle and how his brother had some this and that, all of that. But do you think that he got all of this all clear? A lot of things went underground. Some people were deprived to get him to where he is, and look at what it is today. So little by little, they'll begin to come up with information. Just imagine this Mohammed of a man now that has a private jet, of course, not his own. It is from Magu. So Magu stays as the official, the agency, the head of the agency, while the Mohammed continues to be the man, the money bag, is the one that collects the money and runs the show as if he's a businessman. That's the same way It would have become rich, and richer. And one day they will say, oh, he's a businessman from the north. Then they will track and trace one thing or the other. In one of such trips, Magu flew to Maiduguri alongside Mohammed with a bank MD who was being investigated by the Efcc over complicity in funds allegedly stolen by the immediate past petroleum minister, Diziani Alison Madueke. Do you say that these people are thieves? Madueke that ran down to the Caribbean, he knows. That's why she doesn't want to return. She knows that, look, we're all criminals. We are vampires. We are vultures. So I'm not going to come here and you people are going to ridicule me like I don't know what is on. She knows what is on. You see? Furthermore, the EFCC boss has so far maintained a high-profile lifestyle. This is exemplified by his preference for first-class air travels. On June 24th, 2016, he flew Emirates Airlines first class to Saudi Arabia to perform Lesser Hajj at the cost of 2.9 million naira. This is in spite of Mr. President's directive to all public servants to fly economy, as if the president talking himself. Yes, I understand he has that position. He want to have things good for himself, but look at himself. Administration of criminals, a fraudulent nation called Nigeria, a contraption. Every one of them in all strata, from the police officers on the street to the top, they are all criminals. Magu has fostered a beneficial relationship with Mohammed, who by his confession approaches clients for possible exploitations, favors, and associated returns. Simply, Mohammed is the front man. It's the same pattern that happens in the United Kingdom too, where a minister, kind of has a front person. In fact, when they talk about delisting properties in the United Kingdom, for example, the minister has somebody. So they do these things round. They delist the property and they run the show, sell off that place again. And somehow you never see the connection of the minister. This is how many of these people do these things abroad too. So do not think that they don't have all of this. But in Nigeria, it is worse. It is so terrible. They steal 99.9% of everything available. That's just what it is. So Mohammed is the front man. He's the one that goes round connecting with bank MDs, connecting with people that they think have billions. Probably the fraudsters that they've caught recently. They have connections. There's a way they go around these shows and say, you know what? This is what you need to do. It's the same thing you find in embassies, in Nigerian embassies abroad. You will not see the ambassador or the guy that's going to print out the passport and all of those. First, they create some kind of issues here and there. And the next thing is someone comes across to you and begins to talk to you in a way like, and at the end of the day, you realize that the person is connected to who? The man in the office. So it's the same pattern. It's the same way. So Magu is here to be confirmed as the substantive chairman of the EFCC, despite occupying the position for many years, of course. Buhari brought him in, even though that position as acting chairman does not stop him from whatever he wants to do. It's just that the Senate did not accept. So this is how these guys run the show. This is how these guys run the show. Now, to some people, you might want to call on some names and say, oh, this one is better. No, none of them is better. None of them is better. Some people might say, oh, Saraki was kicked out because he stood against the evil agenda of borrowing and he refused to confirm Magu because he saw him as a financial corruption, a conduit pipe for APC, PNB administration, many insult. Forget about it. Saraki, all of them, they are all in, they are all positioned and focused on their own invested interests and nothing more. Saraki felt like, well, with this guy, he's going to persecute us later. With this guy, I don't think that things will work in our own favor. So do not let us accept him in. If it was going to work for them, they would have allowed him in, because if he got in, it will only be for PNB and APC. That's it. So let's forget about names that some people want to call here. There is no name that you want to call. There's no one you want to point fingers to that is not involved in all these shady deals. That's it. So I don't know what your opinion is as regards all of these things happening in Nigeria, and how long are we going to continue this? Are we just going to continue to speak and say, okay, it is happening here? Do you think there is something somewhere that should be done? What are the solutions that you are coming up with? What do you think should be done in this instance, in this case? If not, this thing will continue forever and ever, and there are people that are kind of waiting for their own turn to get into that position so they can also steal, kill, and destroy. They are all birds of the same feather, pot calling the kettle black. What we need, my own suggestion, is total revolution to wipe away all this corruption off from our nation. In fact, breakaway is just a step, because that corruption is there and it has to be dealt with. It is the same corruption that will affect and crush even any nation that breaks away if care is not taken.